Hi everyone, thanks for having me. My name is Professor Tricker. I actually teach the other section of social media marketing at Cal State San Marcos, so I'm excited to be here and talking with you guys today. So a little bit about more about myself and how I've gotten to where I am today. So I actually received my MBA just down the road at San Diego State University. And when I was actually taking my MBA, I actually was focusing on sports marketing, interesting enough. And upon finishing my degree, I started within the action sports industry, which is where I first started working in the marketing department for some of the lifestyle brands as well as media brands within the action sport industry. And that's kind of how I started getting into social media marketing. Prior to me receiving my MBA, I did some, marketing internships and like more beginner level marketing jobs where I started with social media marketing, but it wasn't always my true focus. But after receiving my MBA, I started running more of these brand social media accounts, running their accounts and starting on the community management. And my initial thought was I wanted to get into sports marketing, but once I started getting and working with these brands, um, that's kind of where I found my passion for social media marketing. And so I kind of progressed while in the sports industry for about 3 years. And it was while I was in that industry, I started with the community management and, running the accounts and progressed into the paid social advertising. And it was that paid social advertising that really sparked my interest. And that's when I knew I really wanted to focus on paid advertising for social media, um, whether it be in the sports industry or not. And then once I kind of, wanted to further my career in that, I actually moved away from the sports industry. And that's where I took my job where I am today at Digitopia. Um, so Digitopia is a full service digital marketing agency. And my role within the company, I'm a senior social media strategist. And I'm really focused on the paid social strategy, running all the paid advertisement campaigns. Um, it's been really fun. I've gotten, since it's an agency, it's, a lot of different things changing all the times, and I get to work with a lot of different brands, varying from B2B to more consumer goods and direct-to-consumer brands. And I've gotten to work really across a lot of different advertising across a lot of the different social media platforms. Um, the big ones being Facebook, Instagram, but I've also gotten to work in LinkedIn, which is a big change from Facebook and Instagram advertising, and then also getting into Twitter and some Pinterest there. At Digitopia, so my day-to-day really kind of leading the strategy on all my clients on the advertising side. And since we are a full service digital marketing agency, I get to work across departments to, help um, devise a paid social strategy that fits in with a bigger omni-channel strategy for a brand. Um, so I'm going to dive into some of the questions you guys sent me. You guys had some awesome questions, so I'm excited to jump into some of these. All right, so one of the questions I got was, how do you determine whether a strategy has been successful or not? And that's a really great question because, you spend a lot of time building a paid social strategy, you implement it, and then what? One of the key things is to actually measure the impact of it and determine, is it successful or not? So what I do is before I launch any social media strategy, I establish my goals, which are usually tied to higher marketing goals for one of my clients, but really set those goals so I know what what the strategy is supposed to achieve. And that in turn is what's going to help you determine whether it's successful. And along with those goals, I want to set KPIs. So what are the indicators that what I'm doing or what my strategy is doing is actually moving the needle for my client. So using like preset goals and KPIs, I'm then able to just monitor and measure the performance and see how that matches up to what I had expected it to do. And it's always key to monitor these campaigns because I do get the performance back, the feedback instantly. And so if it's not working, you don't have to keep letting the strategy roll out for 3 months because that's the set duration of the campaign. You're able to pivot and change your strategy so that you are able to reach those goals. All right, another question you guys sent. So with a good question here, with the COVID-19 pandemic going on, how do you think that's changing social media strategies? And that's a great question because with everything going on, over the past month or two, a lot has changed and it has greatly impacted social media as well as social media strategies. So a couple points here. With everything being virtual and, some other forms of traditional marketing no longer being able to be executed, event-based marketing, any of those face-to-face marketing tactics, no longer being able to be implemented. Social media is, becoming an even stronger marketing option or marketing channel for brands. So with everything being virtual, brands need to lean on their social media to, drive those meaningful business results and to move the needle for their business. And then if you really think about how it kind of impacts or changes a brand's strategy, the big thing I would say it changes it by is just that a brand needs to take into consideration what's going on. And they do need to, change or pivot their strategy to take into consideration the current environment so that their marketing, their social media messages and their posts, their advertisements, they do reflect our current environment. Because if you just continued with business as usual and, maybe your marketing messages would just not resonate with your audience correctly, if you overlook, the elephant in the room, it's a big pandemic going on. It's influencing every single person. So you just need to make sure your marketing messages, they, reflect that your business understands it's not business as usual. But on that note, I don't think every social media post you need to do or every social media advertisement, needs to be about COVID-19. As long as you take into consideration and, it's aware that about it and, your brand has pivoted to adapt to it and whatnot. That's how I really think it's affected social media strategies. All right. So I got a really fun question here about being a professor and a professional. So there was a couple questions about that, and I think I wanted to talk about that because it's somewhat makes me unique compared to some other individuals. But one talks about work-life balance. So, for that, I think I try to leverage time management, and then I kind of should just try to set designated times to work on stuff for Cal State San Marcos versus stuff for my agency position, and then really just set standards like I'm not available 24 hours a day, and then set some time on weekends or evenings for myself as a personal time. So that's that one. And then another one I got on that was more focused on if I had to choose between being a professor or working at Digitopia. That's a really hard question. And I honestly don't have an answer for that specifically. I love doing both, and I love being able to do both. And the reason why is I feel like, my real life experience within, the marketing world, working with brands, it kind of adds to the classroom experience. I'm able to, bring some of those real life experiences that I get from my position at Digitopia and bring them into the classroom. And I think, I'm able to be a better professor and better teach because I work day to day within this industry. And on the flip side, I love teaching. I love working with, excited students, motivated students who have, such a positive energy around the topic. And sometimes it's just such a breath of fresh air compared to working sometimes with clients and, that crazy agency life. So I can't pick between being a professional or being a professor. Truly, truly do love being both. All right, let's see. What else do we got here? So 5 recommended skills for a marketer to have these days. So 5 skills. My 5 skills here would be the first one being writing. Writing is crucial in marketing. You have to be able to write the ad copy and the posts on social media and other assets as blogs and whatnot. So keep up with your writing. Keep practicing. The more you write, the better you're going to get at it. Another one, communication skills, both written and verbal. You're going to have to communicate to your audience through social media. And then you're going to have to work with teammates and clients and, everyone. So having very strong communication skills is very important in marketing. Third would be analytic skills. So a lot of people think, getting into social media marketing is all, fun, creative side to it, but it's really both. You have to be creative and you have to be analytical. And you can't skip that part because, you need those analytic skills in order to measure your success, measure, the success of your campaigns, and then decide what to do moving forward. And then, so that's 3. 4th skill, I recommend content creation or being able to leverage some of the basic skills in creating content, whether that be, basic graphic design skills, basic photography or videography skills, basic Photoshop or video editing skills. I recommend having those. Obviously, you don't need to be, professional or advanced, but being able to have the basics in that is just going to really expand your toolbox. In today's age of social media, you don't need a fancy camera to create content or to create videos. So you really can just use your iPhone or whatever smartphone you have to capture video. And if you're able to take that video, capture it, and make the minor edits and turn it into an amazing social media piece of content all by yourself, you're just going to be that much further within your social marketing skills. And then the last recommended skill I have, this is really specific to more just the agency life and somewhat social media, but being the skill to be flexible and the ability to pivot. So social media marketing is constantly evolving. So what you did, 6 months ago might not work in 6 months. There's no concrete strategies. The platforms are changing, new features are being added. So being able to be flexible and continue to pivot strategies and develop those strategies. And then if you ever want to work in agency, just being flexible, you never know the demands clients are going to have and the changes they're going to, want. So flexibility is a big one, a big skill that people often overlook. All right. So many great questions here. So this one's specifically about Digitopia, and I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was really great you guys did your homework and visited Digitopia's website. So it says Digitopia's website says they do tailored marketing campaigns. What's a good example of that? So what do they mean of tailored marketing campaigns? So when we build out campaigns, we build out hyper-specific marketing campaigns. So we build out marketing campaigns tailored to one individual buyer persona, but even more than that, we focus on one single pain point. So that's what they mean tailored. We're really speaking to one part of the market, one market segment, and we're speaking to them on one pain point. So hyper specific with our copying, our marketing messages across various channels, and really on the main point and how it would apply to that one market. A couple other questions we got here. In addition to your work, do you find that social media consumes your personal life, or do you regulate your consumption? That's an excellent question. I'm on social media all day for my job, but I'm human. I love scrolling through my Instagram feeds, just like all of you might like it as well. So I am guilty of spending maybe a little bit too much of my personal time on social media, but I do try and set some breaks, put the phone down here and there, especially more on the weekends, and step away from it. But I'm guilty of spending a little bit too much of my personal time on social media as well. So this is a great one, another one kind of in regards to our current situation with all being remote and virtual. It says, do you find it harder to get motivated when you can work from home, or do you need to go somewhere to accomplish your work? So I'm assuming this one is speaking to the fact that we're all working from home right now. No one's really able to go into offices. Do I find it harder? Yes, it's definitely harder to work from home than when you're in an office setting. Some of the tricks I have, so really setting first off, trying to stick to a routine, rolling out of bed or not even getting out of bed and opening your laptop and starting to work wouldn't be my recommendation. Trying to stick to as much of your regular routine as possible would be my recommendation on that. And then setting boundaries. So, maybe not working in your bedroom if you have that option, really sticking to the 9-to-5 schedule if you have that option, and holding yourself accountable for, not overworking. There's a lot of people that, since we're working from home, they're working 24/7. And, as professionals and even as students, everyone needs a break now and then. So it's definitely harder to work from home, but those are some of the tips and tricks I have for how to stay motivated while at home. Okay. So a few more here. Let's see. So this one's for someone with a startup company. So what is some advice for a startup company to grow on social media? So my first instinct on this is that as a startup, you need to invest. Some people think you can grow a following on social media overnight, and it typically doesn't work like that. You're not going to have 100,000 followers next month. You really need to invest time and money into, putting together a social media strategy. And my recommendation is to invest, in building that following and building that brand awareness. A lot of people, want to go straight for the sales, straight to driving sales on their social media and generating that ROI. And I really think you need to, invest in that more top of the funnel marketing content to build brand awareness, build that loyal followers, get people to engage with your brand, especially if you're a startup and you don't really have much brand recognition at all. So yeah, invest in it. It takes time. It takes a lot of time, and it takes, it does take some budget to play network. You're going to need some budget, and you're not going to see a positive ROI immediately, but that's okay because you're building that brand awareness. And as you build brand awareness, down the line, the sales will trickle in. Um, and then another one here, which resources are most important to staying up to date on the marketing world? So I thought this is a really great question because as I referenced earlier, social media marketing is constantly changing. There's constantly being updates to platforms and policies and whatnot. So if you're not staying up to date, then you're living in the past. So some of the resources I love, one of my favorite is Ad Espresso. It's actually related to Hootsuite, and they give some great advice on paid social advertising. They offer a lot of free webinars, like monthly webinars that I usually attend, and highly recommend you can come check them. You check them out if you want to learn more about Facebook, Instagram advertising. And then some other resources I tune into are Social Media Examiner. You can subscribe to their newsletter. So every day it pops up in my email inbox. I scan it through and read the articles I find most relevant to me. Additionally, Social Media Today is another big one that I read and stay up on their newsletter. And then I also tune into Adweek, which isn't focused on social media advertising necessarily, but there's a lot of principles within just traditional advertising that do apply to social advertising, and some takeaways you can get from more traditional or other advertising forms that you can apply to a social advertising strategy. Yeah, so those are some of the resources I rely on heavily. Cool. A few more questions?
Yeah, just like a few more.
All right,
Thank
cool.
you.
Of course. So here's a good one. Have you ever had a campaign that just didn't perform as well as you had hoped or planned? Or a campaign that performed way better than you anticipated? So the first part of that, yes. You're going to have campaigns that just absolutely flop. That's just the nature of it. And it's not that big a deal as long as you make the changes. So, my rule of thumb for Facebook and Instagram advertising is I let a new advertising campaign run for 7 days, which usually gives Facebook and their machine learning time to optimize. And after those 7 days, if my results aren't what I had hoped they'd be, that's when I really dive into it and look at what's working, what's not working, and look at the analytics and try to change my strategy or test something else out. So most definitely have had a campaign, not perform well. And it's not the end of the world. As a social media marketer, it's bound to happen. It's how you react to it and how you pivot and move forward. That's really going to be, deciding factors. And then have you had it campaign perform way better? Yeah. I mean, that's always just the best feeling when you work hard on a campaign and you just see success. You see the ads just take off and perform way better than you had ever hoped. Doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's an awesome feeling. And then, what licenses or certifications do you think are most important to have upon graduating if you're trying to enter a career in digital marketing? The big one I would hit on is Google Analytics, actually. Google Analytics is often, a requirement for a lot of jobs, and I hit on this because it's free to obtain. Google offers the certification and the courses to obtain that for free, and it's a really good skill to have. So that's a big one. Other ones, Hootsuite or any of the platform certifications that you probably have gone after or achieved through this course. Really good ones to use. You have to be able to know and understand how to use those type of platforms. This is kind of tough. There's a lot of certifications within social media marketing that you can get that'll just further your education. But I don't know if they're all necessarily required. Another resource I would recommend if you're interested in the advertising side. So Facebook Blueprint. It's Facebook's free training that they offer and has some really good courses to learn more about Facebook advertising. They have certifications you can get for it, but Facebook right now, they're actually charged a fee to take the test. And it's kind of a high pressure situation. You have to go into a testing center or like have some strict parameters on how to take it at home. So I don't necessarily forget the certification, but for taking the Blueprint courses, it's really important to learn more about Facebook advertising. And then some other ones that are similar would be some courses I've taken that I could recommend. Digital Marketer has an abundance of courses you can take within social media marketing, paid advertising, and some analytics one as well. So those are some recommendations I have. I guess I'd say the big one would be Google Analytics because it's free to obtain and very, very useful to have. All right, last question I have here. What advice do you have for fostering strong client relationships? So this really ties back to when I said communication is a key skill to have. Because working with clients can be one of the most tricky things you have. You know, every client's different. So I guess one piece of advice I have would be to communicate, to really over communicate to the client and to really serve them and their needs first. So I always try and keep my clients in the loop on everything I'm doing. Just so they understand that I am putting in the work behind them. And I try to explain into some depth why I'm doing certain things, just so they, sometimes they don't understand all that goes into social media marketing, and they don't really understand how in-depth it can be. So really kind of communicating all the work you're putting to it. So really fostering strong communication, really delivering quality service. One thing we like to, when you're working in an agency, you're working with clients, you're almost working in a customer service role. So keeping that in mind, that they are the clients, they are the one paying for your service. So there is a little bit of customer service. Sometimes they'll have odd requests or demanding requests. So just keeping that in the back of your mind. And then another advice I'd have is to kind of establish a personal relationship with them. They are human on the other side of it. And if you can, start every call with how you doing, how your weekend was, share things from your personal life, you'll get that relationship, one step further. It won't just be work. It won't just be a professional relationship, but you'll be able to foster a little bit of a personal relationship. And that just goes way better, working together day to day.
Thank you so much for your time and answering all the questions. Any last minute words for maybe graduating seniors during this time?
Yeah. Well, you guys, you're doing great. Like, this is probably one of the strangest times to be graduating college. So just know you're doing great. Just keep working out there. Don't be afraid to, to try new internships, try new jobs. Don't be afraid to fail. Everybody, fails in some aspect or not. It's how you bounce back that's really going to set your career forward. And then continue to network, leverage Cal State San Marcos network, leverage your professors as you go, through this next transitional year, entering the job market. But just know you guys are entering the job market and, graduating, and one of the craziest times, so don't put too much pressure on yourself. Know you're doing so good.
Thank you. So
Yeah,
everyone, please connect with her on LinkedIn.
Feel
She's
free
on there.
connect with me on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions. Happy to be a resource for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.